Hey there, Coach Luke here, and welcome to the very first episode of Active Mum Meal Prep. Now, I am the owner and head coach of the Active Mum movement, where basically we use training, nutrition, and mindset to help mums not only lose the weight, but also keep it off long term. Now, I'm starting this today because one of the hardest things is always the food. Never have enough time, never get everything done. So I've, gonna start this, gonna get some really time-friendly, easy, family-friendly recipes. And that's why we're getting that happening. So we'll jump straight into it. Today, we're going to do a chicken carbonara meal prep. Super, super simple, super easy. Let's jump straight into it. So all we need is a bag of penne pasta. I would normally get the crappy Woolies brand one, but it's all gone because everyone's going insane. 2 containers of the Carbonara Dolmio pasta sauce and 1.6 kilos of chicken breast. And we will also need, where did I put that? Some Parmesan cheese to put on at the end. Cool, let's jump into it. Now, first thing we want to do is get our water on for our pasta. So we'll get that cooking. This is all about saving as much time as we possibly can, because if I can get you to save time making this stuff, then you're going to be 10 times more likely to actually follow through and get it done. So we'll get that water on, get our stove on. Cool. Now, we don't want to put too much water in there because then it's going to slow it down too much. Now, what we need is 400 grams of penne for this recipe, and I will link the recipe down for you guys so you can play along at home. But basically, if I'm correct, these bags of pasta are 500 grams. So we're not going to get super excited, and we're not going to weigh it out, but I'm pretty sure we can eyeball pretty close where 4/5 of that bag is, and then we'll just tuck 100 grams away for a rainy day. But we'll wait for that water to boil and we'll get stuck into this chicken. Rightio. Now, if you wanted to save more time, you could also very easily, pro tip that I learnt from watching bloody Jamie Oliver cooking shows, it must work, is throwing a wet cloth underneath your chopping board so then it doesn't take off on you. Now, if you did want to save more time, you could buy the chicken breast already done, cut into strips, but I thought I would do that today because people, I've found are really weirded out by chicken breast. So I'm going to show you guys how I do this to try and save a bit of time. So the trick with chicken is you don't want it too thick, obviously. So all I do is I'm going to come straight down the middle, cut off any obvious bits of fat. Like if it's only a tiny bit, it's literally not worth worrying about it. But if it's a decent little chunk, then get rid of that. And then we make sure that's not too thick. Cool. And then we're just going to cut that into, and by the way, I'm no chef at all. I don't pretend to be in any way, shape or form, but I've been able to cook enough to keep myself in shape for, 7 or 8 years now. So this stuff works, and I'm all about saving time. So we're just going to cut that into little strips, just line them up. And so we're not doing a la carte, we're not doing the fanciest things in the world, but we are getting it done. And that's the key, is getting that shit done. So while now I'm going to use my electric pan for all of these because we can all get, like, everyone has these. If you've got a good gas stovetop, then that's cool. But we give this a spray with oil because we don't ever want to use any oil, because bonus calories that we don't want. I only ever use spray oil. But cut these. Might have actually got a little bit excited there and turned that on too early, because they don't take long to heat up at all, which is one of the best things about them. So this is all I do. Come through. As I said, this makes 8 serves. So we will need 8 containers, and because we know what we've got oil in there already, because we know what the amounts are we're putting into the 8 of them, we don't have to weigh anything later on. It doesn't have to be that exact. So that pan's nice and hot now. Get this out of the way. We'll drag our little pan over so we can see what's going on. Now, trick when you cook this much, is this the perfect option? No, the pan's a bit crowded, we know that. But what you want to do is you want to spread it out, and once you've got it as close to a single layer as you can, then you just let it sit. Don't play with it. Just leave it alone. Right, yeah, so that is good to go. I'm gonna throw some salt in there while that's happening. Shake some salt in there. Now, people think salt's the enemy. Salt's not actually the enemy unless you have problems with high blood pressure. Now, how long does this stuff take to cook? Well, we'll look on the bag. Cooks in 12 minutes. Cool. So we're pretty much boiling there. So I'll pour 4/5, so 400 grams into our trusty pan or saucepan. Oh, perfect. Got a little bit left. Throw that in the cupboard for a rainy day. Cool. Now I don't have my timer because my phone is right there recording this stuff. So, hey Google, set a timer for 12 minutes. Cool. Always, always, always set timers on shit. It makes it so much easier and you don't have to think about it. I don't know how many people have burnt shit, dried shit out, ruined shit because they just don't use timers, and then they'll sit there and they'll tell you, oh, I'm not a very good cook. Well, no fucking shit, you're not a very good cook because you don't put timers on anything. How hard is it? Like, it's like maybe good cooks don't have to use timers, but I'm not a good cook. So that's why I do it that way. So we just let that sit. We've let that sit around. Now what we're gonna do is get our containers out, which I should have had them ready to party, but that's cool, we've got heaps of time. 6, 8. So we know we need 8 with this. So grab 8 containers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got our 8 containers. We'll keep them handy for when it's ready to party. Now, as I said, the whole idea of this prep, super simple, super quick, super easy. So we're just gonna cut as many corners as we can. We're literally cooking the pasta, cooking the chicken, throwing them in containers, putting this sauce that is already done for you on top, and then a little bit of Parmesan, because I've found I've actually made this a few times and that makes a big difference to the cheesy goodness flavor. Now, the reason why we don't play with this for a while is it's actually gonna brown the bottom a little bit. Once we put so much meat into that pan, it's actually going to sweat and more boil as opposed to fry. But if we keep it still, we'll get a little bit of brown on the underside, which will give us that flavor, and then we can start to stir it around. Now, if you stir it and it's not brown, then there is a fantastic chance you've jumped the gun and tried to do it a little bit early. But not to worry, it'll just taste not as good this time and you can learn for next time. So we'll move that around. I probably went a little bit early, I got excited. We'll leave that, get him back in place, we'll let it sit. And then we got that ready, and our pasta is doing its thing. Another thing, when it comes to, oh, let's go that side. When it comes to frying pans, spend the extra $20 or $30 to get the decent one. Don't get the shittest, cheapest one at Kmart or Big Dub, the 1800 watt one. You know the one I'm talking about, because it's shit. And especially when you go to load it up with a little bit extra than you probably should put in there, it won't do the job as well. Get the highest watt, best. You don't have to get the fanciest one. I think this one was like 80 bucks, but there is a 30 or a $40 one. That's shit. Get the 80 bucks, 70 bucks, 80 bucks. Get one that's half decent, because we are going to be cooking in this thing all the time. Now, so we've got a couple more minutes there with the chicken. The key is as well, when you are doing a meal prep, is to not overdo anything that you cook. Obviously, we don't want to undercook chicken, duh, but you definitely don't want to overcook it, because you are going to cook it up a little bit more when you reheat it in the microwave as well. So if your chicken's always dried out and shit, that's probably why, because you're cooking the ass out of it first and then you re-cook it in the microwave. So don't be doing that. Survive. Another option is, I always like to cook this stuff on the barbecue. I'll cook anything on the barbecue. And all I do is get the chicken breast, cut it in half like we did this time, put them on the barbecue, and then come in and put them on in strips later. That's quicker and tastes better. But I thought for this example, we'll use a frying pan, because otherwise I would have everyone saying, I don't have a barbecue. I can't do it on the barbecue. Okay, we'll get a frying pan, because that's easy. Cool? Cool. What we can do while we're waiting, because cheese is very calorie dense, we do want to weigh that shit out. So I'll just come around here. Now when we're weighing stuff, we get our scales, we zero them with the container on them, and then we've got our 250 gram. Now, could I eyeball this and be close enough? Yes. Do I want you, when you're starting out and don't really have any idea what 80 grams of cheese looks like, do I want you doing that? No. He says me that can't even cut the bloody cheese open. Let's try again. Special. Yeah, so because we're doing 8, we're gonna do 10 grams of cheese on each. Obviously, we just want 80 grams of cheese. Then we can eyeball it. I do Parmesan because it's much stronger, and so you need less of it. That's why I go with Parmesan. Otherwise, if you went like just even like a light cheddar or a light tasty, yes, granted, less calories per 100 grams, but you would need twice as much of it to actually get that flavor. A little bit like dark chocolate in healthy recipes. Some of the recipes we'll be doing. Do I really like dark chocolate? No, not overly. I prefer dairy milk any bloody day of the week. But dark chocolate, you need less of it, which that's the advantage there. So our chicken's just about done. So we'll just let that play. I might even call it on the chicken. You don't want to go crazy. And our pasta's just about done, but we'll let Google call that one for us. We'll wash that up as we go so we don't have any mess to clean up afterwards. We'll just move that out of the way. Four. 1, 2, 3, 4. Really super simple. Got our lids there. Our pasta's going to be ready in a second. Now I just like to get like a spoon, a little bit like so, and all we'll do, because we know that there's 1.6 kilos in there, we trimmed a tiny little bit off with fat. It doesn't matter. Let's not get excited. what we'll do is we'll put our pasta in. So we'll divide that evenly by 8 because we know we put 400 grams in there, which is 50 grams dry in each one, which is about 100 grams wet, but don't get too excited about that. We know how many calories are in that. We know how many calories are in that. We know how many calories are in them. We work out the whole thing, we divide it by 8, and I'm gonna do that for you, and I'll put it up there so you know exactly where we're up to. Now that pasta is gonna be real close. There's Google. Hey, Google, stop the timer. Cool. Google, you're a gem. Let's just taste one of them just to make sure. And try not to burn ourselves in the progress. Perfect. Once again, pasta. Don't overdo it. It's gonna cook more as you heat it up. Cool. We're gonna rinse that with cold water. Just quickly, we're not gonna get too carried away. Beautiful. Then a little pro tip. With pasta, we're not gonna run olive oil through it, but we're just going to give it a quick spray so it doesn't all stick and chunk together in one piece. So we've given that a spray. Then we just want to quite literally pour this in, try and get them close. They're not going to be perfect, but near enough is good enough. Throw them in. Cool. And then we go, oh well, that one's a bit off. That one's a bit off. I used to spend so much time getting all this shit perfect, but guess what? You're not gonna die if you had 2 pieces less penne one day, and you're not gonna get fat if you had 3 pieces of extra pasta. So it really doesn't matter. So we've got our pasta down. Then we're gonna start with a spoonful of chicken. Now you could put veggies in this if you wanted to. You could fill it up a little bit more, but I normally put veggies in most things, but I don't really want veggies in this. So if you want to get really excited and put some broccoli or something in there, you could certainly do that, and that would make it more filling. And that would probably be my go-to. I'd do broccoli and something like this, but I didn't have any, and I didn't really feel like it. So guess what? Doesn't matter. I'm doing greens shakes every morning. Don't stress. I'm getting my vitamins and minerals. Cool. I'll taste that bit, because that's what you gotta do. And tell you what, it's not bad. Cool. Near enough's good enough. Now while that's still warm, we're gonna give that a quick scrub too, because then it's gonna clean off 10 times quicker than if we let that settle. Right, and then all we're gonna do is grab our trusty sauce and 1 between 4, which that's a lot of sauce, which is good because it's delicious. And this is where most of the calories comes from in this. You could obviously save a heap of calories if you chose to use like a bolognese sauce or something, which we will get to that, but this is just something different. And for 500 calories for a meal and 50 grams of protein, this is going to be delicious. The kids are gonna love it. Lockie loves it. And just quick and simple. And for those times where you don't feel like, oh, I don't want a salad, I don't want veggies, just come and have some chicken pasta. It is good to go. Cool. So that's that done. And then we've just got our parmesan, which I'm just gonna wipe my hands. And we're just going to sprinkle them on top. And trust me, this goes a long way. Don't skimp on the parmesan, because it will totally change the way. Once you reheat this in the microwave, the parmesan sort of goes golden brown a little bit on top. It comes out really good. So make sure you don't skip the parmesan. And that's it. That's our meal prep, done. Everything's clean. These are done. Everything's done. We've just got to put some lids on them suckers and we are ready to go. So, hope that was helpful. Done, what was that? 15 minutes, start to finish. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys want to see next. And yeah, we'll do it from there. Until then, get meal prepping.